back. Yes, it's a new day. It's a new race. This is the series that I did Saturday morning. This is the Zwift Insider Tiny Race Series. I did this series Saturday morning. It was going on the new system. It's running on the new Zwift system, scoring system. So I did do that. I was kind of hesitant. Let me be honest with you. I was kind of hesitant because the new system does have me pretty high, but it doesn't really make it over too competitive. But what it does do, and I think I will be more competitive as I get back in shape. Like I said, it's been about a month since I really rode hard. So it's gonna take me a couple of weeks to get back into like I was in shape beginning of the year, up until about 2 months ago, about a month ago. But with that being said, do I think I can hang with this system? Yeah, I think it does need some little more corrections. Maybe an allowance for the weight. I think it's fair in what it's doing. And let me be honest about that. I think it's fair in what it's doing. What I think about the weight part of it is that I don't think it accounts for my weight when I'm riding with people who are half my size. B's in this series, it's gonna be mostly B's. I think there are a couple of C's, but it's mostly all B's. And so I'm a mid C, even though I'm a D category because of my power, but because of my weight, I'm a mid C. Maybe tops. I'm a little bit more towards 75% C, but I'm not top 100 guys out there, not 100%, but I'm in the top 25%, pretty much. I'm about 75. I'm up in that area because of my power, because of my size. But when we get the heels, you can understand how C's really get advantage. But on the other side of the heels, I get a heavier advantage. I get just as heavy as an advantage. Actually, I think it's a little bit more of an advantage. But with all that being said, I did the new system. I think it's easier for me to talk about it when I'm racing. So with that being said, let's get started. And we're off. And as we took off, I hadn't rode in like 2 weeks, and I thought I had everything hooked up. Now you're gonna get to see you see what I have there, storing pedals. You see everything, and I'm powering in. I got my heart meter. I got everything. You see what I have. Once I made sure everything was hooked up, I took off. And I'm riding. I'm doing really good. I have the dual power meter set. Sometimes it does one, sometimes it does two pedals, so that's why you see it right there. But I do have the dual set. What else can I say? Like I said, my power, I've done it, and I talked about this much yesterday, so I'm not going to focus in on it all day long. Only reason I'm talking about it now, because on this race, you saw I kind of messed myself up. And for anybody who's doing tiny races, if you mess up on a race, do not quit, because whatever you do after that race won't count at all. So you see how I even though I messed up, I went ahead and finished that first race. Because why? Because I wanted the rest of my races to count. So in order to do that, I have to finish the race. So I just started off and kept going to finish the race. I've done them before, and you're allowed to race the other ones, but when I go back and look at it, it say DQ'd on it. So I made sure I finished that race. I didn't realize I passed somebody. I guess they were just out for a night middle ride. Now I saw some A's were in this thing. The lower A's are being in here, but for the most part, it's mostly B's. I think it's more middle T B's, not the top of echelon B's. I think it's more of the middle B's. To get to 550 when you're that light, you're really good. Let's just be honest about it. You're good. For me, it's my power that gets me to that point. But my weight is a little bit of hindrance. But on this race, right, if I had raced this race and left on time with everybody else, I probably came in around 15, 10 or 15 somewhere. And I saw Gary Price came in like 6, and I ride pretty good with him. So Gary, if that was me, I'm pretty sure I would have came up right behind you. So, and you know me, you've already told me before that you felt like I could race with C's before I ever moved up to C's. So you're one of the motivations to help me get up to that point. BB did. There was a lot of people told me I could compete with C's, and I really was scared until I got to do the the ladder races, which I can't ride right now. But when I got to do the ladder races, that's when I realized I could race with C's, and I've been doing it ever since. With that being said, I want to thank y'all for that. You see I came in like 89th or something like that. We finna get hyped up, and let's get on to the next race so y'all can actually see me race with somebody, and just instead of watching me out here doing lonely exercises. With that being said, let's get on to the next race. Now we're off to the next race. And as you can see, we finna get into the second race. This is another one of these 4 tracks are pretty much familiar to me, but the end of the race makes the difference. See, with B's and C's, this is very happens with me a lot with C's. As we get to the end of the race, C's have this thing where they can kick in their power, and since they can double-digit redline their numbers, I can't do that. In order to redline my numbers, man, I probably have to put out 1,600 watts. Let's just be honest, because of my size. Maybe even more than that to get the 9 or 10%. What is the 9 or 10 wattage kilowatt numbers? I think I would have to put out 1,900 watts, and that's just not possible. When I first started, when I was much heavier, but I was putting in more power in my steps, I could put out some crazy numbers, but they wouldn't last no longer than, I don't know, man, 10 seconds. Now I can hit those numbers, but man, it takes everything I got. You see me riding at 300, 400 watts, but to go past that is hard, man. So with that being said, let's get into this race. I took too long with this ultra, and we're off. And as we take off, I actually take off with everybody else. I want to say this is the Dolphin, and this is a race where I strategize. Now, I knew what was going on in most of this race, so I knew where to attack. Right here, you attack up these hills, and what you do, when it go down, you stay where it's at, but when it goes up, you attack it again. And you'll see my wattage go up when we go up the hill, and then we go down, it goes down. But for pretty much most of the part, I had to attack this, and when we come out of there, you have to attack right here. You always have to attack right here, and then it'll kind of flatten out when you first come out the rolling hills. And as we come around here, we go right here, and the next turn, I want to say we're going downhill. And once we go downhill, I know this race, I've raced it a lot. Y'all have seen this race from me a lot. I knew how far I can go. What I was trying to do is figure out how much room did I need to try to place high in this race. I was trying to win it, but let's be honest, there are A's and B's in my category for this race. And I'm just being honest, man. What I was trying to do is strategize. I look at my watch. I'm trying to stay inside the draft. I'm not trying to get out in front. I'm just trying to stay in the draft as long as possible so that I can save as much energy as possible. There's the one thing you gotta understand with B's and C's, with B's and A's, is that the strategy that I use where I want to take off like a kilometer out, maybe a kilometer and a half away from the finish line, that won't work here. That one won't work here. I have to invent a new strategy for myself with this, which the other reason I like this new system, which I can't blame it for whatever it's doing, is because it's forcing me to evolve into racing. I've gotten a lot of comments talking about how much I talk about racing and they can feel how passionate I am. It's causing me to evolve even more in racing because now I have got this strategy where I can keep in the draft and do everything I can. There's more to it. I'm learning the box technique where you go down and power on one pedal, you use the other one to pull it up, and then you power back down through the pedal. It sounds crazy when I'm saying it. I learned it from the Zwift guy, the trick guy. I went back by that track and I talked to them about more techniques to help me out. And they were telling me about it and they tried to show it to me. And I'm working on it. They told me to work with one leg first and then I can work with both legs. But it's powering, it's pulling through the updraft and pushing on the down. It's something that seems like you would do, but you don't. And you can see my weight balance is getting pushed. And it only gets pushed back down because we're going through the hills. Right here on this hill, we're going through it. But as we get closer to the end of this race, you see I'm staying in the group. I'm staying in the crowd. Now, I was contemplating on hitting them when everything goes down. On this next round, we come back around. I was contemplating on getting them on this spot right here. Now, as you can see, we come around here. It was 2 laps, so we come around here on this lap. And you can see we get close to the end of the race. And what I was trying to do was stay close to the front, but not too far from the front, but close enough where I can get a draft in here. And I was trying at 500 meters, I started to try to attack. But I'm racing with C's and A's, y'all. I'm attacking, and it's a negative, look at that, it's a negative climb, which gives me a little bit of benefit. I'm in third, but watch when these guys, after we get to this turn, they decide to attack. They're attacking, and look what, I'm putting out 700 watts, and they walking past me like I'm standing still. With that being said, let's head over to the next race. Now we're off to race 3. Let's talk about race 3. Race 3 was one of them races where, like race 2, I'm putting out a lot of wattage at the end, but still I'm racing with category B and category A guys and top category C's. So a lot of the strategies that I would normally use, put a lot of power in on a down low, on a downgrade, would help me score pretty high. You know, I wouldn't win them, but it helped me podium. I think I can podium a lot more with these races. The new system is going to be a learning curve for a lot of us, but as you can see with the end of the post, you can see the race scores change. If you watch my metrics on my when I put up the standings at the end, there's a race category right there, and you can see that number moving up and down. So if anybody's wondering about that, that's the way you can see how your system numbers moving. Now, the thing that bothered me was, even though that number I moved down on Monday, when I went back to look at my score at the base score, it moved down to 543, which would move me down in another class. When I went back and looked at it, it had me still at 550. So I don't know what's going on with there. With that being said, let's get off in this race, and we're off. And just another successful takeoff. I know I'm being funny, but I had another successful takeoff on this race. Now I can talk about race. I've been talking about the system for the first 2 races, but as you can see, let's get into this race, and I can really talk about the race now. As you can see, I'm staying with the people right here. My goal is to catch the draft with them. I really have to read my map now. When we got to that decline and incline, I kind of pulled out in front of them because I'm having to run a lot harder than I normally have to. And one thing, like I say, with these Saturday races, this was my first race in 2.5 weeks. So I was feeling a little off. I wasn't feeling as comfortable as I normally feel when I race these races. I was excited about the races, but I just had to start back because you start making up excuses why you can't race that morning. Oh, I woke up too late. I went to bed too late. You start finding reasons. When you start missing workouts, you start finding reasons to miss workouts, if you understand what I'm saying. So I had to get up and race, and that started me out. Now that I'm racing a lot more now, I would have gotten a race this morning, but I had things going on. This is Tuesday when I'm recording these videos, so y'all know what went on today. If you watched the video from yesterday or you seen the beginning of this one, I think I put it in there. But as we're racing, we come around on here, and I'm trying to stay in the pack. I'm doing the draft. Every once in a while, I pull out in front. But my goal is to stay in the pack. I have to use the draft. I have no choice, because what happens is, to keep my numbers at a relevant pace, to keep up with them in these short races, I have to make the tension that much harder. So it's like when you're racing and you have to stand up on your pedals, that's pretty much what I'm doing most of this race. To keep the power up, so I can stay with the group. Because you can see, I'm pushing 5 in and they keep rolling past me like I'm nothing. And then when we hit a downhill, I take off, and the only thing good about that is because I had that speed, it pushes me up the hill. But once that up the hill is done, you see at the top of the hill, they walk past me like I'm standing still. And then we go down another decline, and I come back up on them. But like I say, the incline is what gets them ahead of me. So as you can see, I'm coming through this thing pretty good. I'm staying in the pack. I'm using my ideas of not getting out in front, but I have to come up with another strategy to help me win these races. What I was doing in the past is not going to work. I have to come up with something new. And that's my goal, is to come up with a new way of doing this, because if I try to do it the old way, it's just not going to work. It's just not going to make it for me. I have to get better. And like I say, this new scoring system will force a lot of us who are used to racing in certain spots and staying in certain places. You can't become complacent with this new system, because it won't let you. You're going to have to race, and you're going to have to maintain what you're doing. You're going to be consistent, and I'm happy for that. With that being said, we're almost at the end of this race. You can see I was close to 6th or 7th position, man. As you can see, they just power past me, man, with no problem. And I was burnt out by the end. So with that being done, we're gonna get out of here and we're gonna head to the next race. Now we're at the race I was looking for. Yes, I was getting tired. So we're at the race that I was looking at, the last one. I was happy about this. I've been talking much about the scoring system, which this is mostly about today. Even the thumbnail's gonna say something about the scoring system. I want to say I enjoyed these races. Am I happy with the scoring system? Yes. Am I excited and overjoyed with it? No. It still needs some more work on it, and it's in the beta test stages. I think somebody told me, which is great for them to do it now. I think this thing's supposed to kick in sometime later on this year, first of next year. I don't know when. Don't get me lying. I'm just guessing. I hope that they keep continuing doing what they're doing, and what they do is merge it more and more with all the other races. Like now they're doing the stage races, a couple other racing cringe races, a couple other races. But for the most part, it's on the bigger races that are promoted by Zwift or somebody associated closely with Zwift. And I hope that they keep integrating it with other races, smaller races, and that way we start learning in the system more. With that being said, let's get off on this race, and we're off. And as we take off, like I said, I knew where this was going. It's a volcano race. I knew we was going to end kind of on a hill, and my goal was to just try to keep up with everybody until we get to the end. I'm running a little tired. I'm trying to stay in the draft. You look at my draft numbers, 270, 280. That's another thing I want to talk about relevant to my weight and my size. Them draft numbers are higher than most folks get because it's estimating how much power I would have to put out to put into that. That's what I learned from the draft numbers. So you can see they go down real far when we go up a hill, but you notice how everybody passed me, even though I'm putting out 500 watts, which most folks go, man, the game is relevant to my weight, and that's why I try to get people. So now when we turn and we go down a little percentage, you notice that I start to walk back up into the crowd. What I'm trying to do is walk back up without hurting myself, making myself tired. This is not a long race, so that's the good part about it. But it's a race where I have to maintain a certain amount of power, and that's what I'm trying to do. You can see us coming around this corner here. Feeling great about how we're riding. We got 5 kilometers left and 2 kilometers in. This was one of the longer races. I think this thing was like 5 miles. And it was like all these races I'm used to. But the problem is, like I say, I'm racing with high C's, B's, and some A's are in here. And so what ends up happening is that anytime I hit a hill, you see how we hit a slight hill, and they just walk away from me because of the weight factor that I think, how can I make up for it? How could they make up for that? I really can't say. This is going to probably be one of the things that's more on the heavier riders where we just got to get in a little bit more shape and lose a little bit more weight. I don't know what else they can do. Maybe they can put in a factor of maybe 0.25% to knock down that power, a negative 0.25% of the power, or maybe 10% negative, and that knocks us down maybe from that class where we're in now with all the C's to maybe all the B's and A's to where we're in top C's and low B's. And I think that may make it a more fair, but I know they're trying to balance it out so more people have chances of winning. And you see right here when it's here, I prepared, I knew it was coming, so I did all the power in. And you can see I stick with them. I'm being really focused. Because I've been learning how to ride, you see I scoot back in the draft, and I try to learn, I'm learning how to ride. I really am learning how to ride. And that helps out a lot. I'm just letting y'all know, I don't think it really needs a lot more tweaking. It really doesn't. Maybe for a lot lighter guys, but my super weapon, and I'm just being honest, and that's why I got to get to riding again because I do 100-mile rides every month. My secret weapon to this is not just to my power, that it's relevant to my weight. So everybody knows it's my endurance. It's my endurance. That's the only thing. That's where a lot of people, because they go, well, you can't. It's my endurance. Because the power numbers I'm putting out, yes, if I was 160 pounds, 145 pounds, man, I got world record breaking numbers. But because of how much I weigh, these are just average numbers. You take your weight and you take the percentage of what I weigh, you put that percentage on you, you would get mostly the same numbers. There's nothing special about my numbers. It's more, my numbers help me out because of the algorithm, the way the game is made. But as far as it goes as to winning the game, So we're coming around on the end of this race, and I'm trying to stay in the front, but I know these guys are good, man. So I'm trying to get out of front, and I'm powering in. Look at my power, 800 watts, and I cannot keep up with them. 7, 8, look at 800 watts. Now I'm just pooping out now. I'm burning out because I can't contain that. And they just walked away from me like I was standing still. Hey, look, man, I love that y'all watch my videos. Thank y'all for being there for me. Thank y'all for celebrating all the wins. Any well wishes for my Papa Doug or whatever, thank y'all for that. I'm gonna say that early. I want to let y'all know to enjoy yourselves. Man, go home and hug your family and your kids, man. Show love to your family. With that, have a great day and ride on.